You know what? We suck at telling both our community as well as our members what we are actually doing, because one of the main problems that we have, and I'm talking about myself, is we're always in the action. We're always moving from one project to the other because we want to have as much impact as possible. So we don't actually take the time to just pause. We don't actually take the time to just pause, say thank you to the people who contribute, measure how they contributed, and just like tell the world that we're actually doing something. Because we feel sometimes that this is a waste of time. We feel sometimes that when we do this, we're not actually in the action to support, help, contribute to our ecosystem or communities. I don't know if you have this feeling, Valentin.
That's a fantastic topic. And I appreciate that you brought it up. It is something that I personally sometimes struggle with because the rush of getting something done and doing good things is so uplifting.
Absolutely.
But then it also has this tendency to like burn you out sometimes because you're rushing to get so much done, and then you don't get the chance to revel in the afterglow of accomplishing something great. So I'm curious to hear from both of you. What's your strategy? What are you thinking about in terms of adjusting that and creating that space that's necessary for one to sit back and reflect and enjoy the success, and two, to really start collecting that data, start collecting those results, and also turning into something meaningful, digestible, and useful for the variety of stakeholders, not only the internal team, of course, but also the funders, the partners, the general public who you're constantly trying to communicate with in order to attract more talent, in order to attract more funds, to get awareness for your cause. So what is on your mind in terms of when you're trying to deal with this challenge of lack of time and this drive to create that actual impact versus taking a chance to step back a little bit and absorb it and turn it into something valuable? What are your thoughts on that? I would really like us to not gloss over that because I think that's so important.
Absolutely. I think it's really hard, and I'll go back to what you just highlighted, is like the thrill is around the impact that you're having. Even if you don't measure it, you feel it. So the thrill is like in the action. But I think, and I'm the first sucker at it, I like being in the action. I like feeling that I'm having an impact. And it actually took me, my team members, to make me as an individual, first and foremost, realize that it's also my role or our role to highlight that work. So to pause, to just like someone slaps you in the face and being like, stop, think, reflect, because as you reflect and you look back at your work, and as you present that work, you will be able to leverage that couple hours of administrative, boring, annoying, not used to work to do even more in the future. So just stopping from that race was through listening to my team members. And I'm still struggling and working on that to take the time to. Second, it's to surround ourselves with people who are complementary, people who can contribute into a more structuring and project management and all that kind of stuff that are really required. Like when you're building a house, having those kind of foundational aspects so that we can build a bigger house. And lastly, and I think Valentin highlighted it beautifully earlier, and I would like to say it again, we need to show that this is valuable and being used, and it's a cultural shift. Thank you. I learned quite a lot with you, Valentin, today, and I think this is really important to show that even internally to the team that this is being used, because no one wants to be useless, and we feel useful when we're in the action. But we need someone to remind us that that kind of administrative tracking, etc., is also part of the action, and it's also part of the impact that we are aiming to have. So this is really important. Thank you, Val.
Yeah, I want to follow up on the complementary part. If you like starting projects, you're bad at following up with projects. You cannot have both sides of the coin. If you want to do speed, there's other things that you're losing in the process. I did my master in project management, and I can tell you that drive of running from one project to another is real. And it's really hard to decelerate and say, okay, what is the impact? And ideally, not just at the end of the project, but during the project. So there's a few mechanisms here. First of all, ask for help. The crazy thing right now, and I think we're insanely lucky, especially in the world of nonprofits, is because if you never done data consistently through the organization, I really don't mean just at the end of the year when you're trying to measure your impact, but across the year. In this day and age, you can fairly easily get volunteers or interns that want to help. They care about your cause. They love data. For them, it's a very simple, natural operation. They'll add both and they'll be pretty happy. The reason why is that if you hire an expert in data, they might be overkill for your organization. They're really expensive, and you just sometimes don't have the maturity to host them within your organization. You really have to start slowly, because if you're an expert and you get into a nonprofit that don't have that structure, so much education needs to be done. You need to skip a lot of steps. Start with doing internal education, put all your teams on the same page. One simple advice, so we gave the example of calendars and such, is, hey, everybody here is using Team or Slack. What stops you from sharing a weekly or a monthly report of how your website has been doing, how after each event, how many people attended, maybe some snippets of people sharing you thank you notes and etc. What stops you from just doing that really, really quickly every month? So that way, when you do your end of the year report, all you have to do is to go through all those conversations. If you do feedback once a year, that is not enough. This is not enough in terms of data. Just do them monthly, weekly, depending on your pacing. Your team will love it, and people will become way more critical about what kind of data they want to see. If you show me stats and a report at the end of a year, honestly, I will have no opinion about it. If you give me stats every week, every month about different activities, I'll start developing opinions. I'll say, hey, why do we track this? Why don't we track this? Oh, it's interesting. We did this and that impacted this. Could it be? Suddenly the organization will care. You'll have a data-related discussion, and you'll need other discussions to support that. But you'll just start having that discussion within your team.